fine, yeah, run and hide. Oh, this isn't long enough.
They walked out? Okay. Okay, the public hearing is a public hearing on CU-822, DNA Corporate Office and Retail Center, Manor and Wilson Road, tax parcel 492160, or is that 66? 000087, Major E and B Business District. Major excavation.
My name is Ray Gusty from Farringham McCarty Gray. So for the major excavation, so if I can orient everyone to this drawing, Wilson Road is along the right-hand side. Manor Road is along the lower left right-hand side here, and then Route 22 runs diagonally along the bottom of the drawing. The white areas here are cut, and the gray shaded areas are the fill areas. So we have 254,000 cubic yards of cut, plus 35,500 cubic yards of topsoil, for a total excavation of 289,500 cubic yards. That's round numbers. We're slightly out of balance with the cut and fill, but we can raise the site slightly to balance the cut and fill, so we're not hauling anything off site as far as the cut and fill goes. The topsoil, there's going to be 34,000 yards of topsoil left that we need to either take to an approved disposal area or sell to landscapers. So that material has to be hauled off site in one way or another. One other thing was, I know there was a comment from the municipal staff about doing a slope stability analysis for this slope under the Buckeye Pipeline. The Buckeye Pipeline runs up in this northeast direction here. We provided the slope stability analysis by construction engineering consultants, and it shows that slope is stable, so there's no issue with that cut slope. So as far as major excavation goes, if anyone has any questions, I'll try and answer them for you.
What's the grade of the slope?
Up here, that's 2-to-1 slope. They're all 2-to-1 slope is a maximum slope that we have. There's a slope back here, it's 3-to-1, but the majority of the cuts and fills are 2-to-1.
I don't have a drawing. They would have to zoom in. Can they make that bigger? See if
So the DNA office building sits back here. Most of that building pad is on fill. And the retail center sits over here, it's on fill as well.
That's it? Any questions? Doesn't seem to be. Any public comment? Would like to say something? Anybody in the audience? No comments. Thank you. That's it. Need a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Okay, next we're going to turn it over to our mayor today.
Thank you, President. I have a proclamation today, number 223-22, whereas George Karcharopoulos has served the municipality of Murraysville as solicitor since 1976. Okay, they're going to yell at me. Okay, it's on. Whereas George K. has provided expert guidance and legal advice to many elected officials and administrators during his 46 years of service to the municipality of Murraysville. Whereas George K., among many achievements as solicitor and counselor, guided the community through its transformation from a second-class township to a borough, then a first-class home rule community. And whereas George K. has always served with the highest degree of professionalism while maintaining the highest ethical standards of his profession. And whereas George K. has provided these services while not forgetting Murraysville is his hometown. Now therefore, I, Regis J. Sinan, Mayor of the municipality of Murraysville, hereby proclaim December 21st, 2022 as George K. Day. Thanks, George. We have a little presentation for you. I asked Jim to help out here since I think he is the longest tenure other than you. And Jim's leaving us tonight also, for those of you who don't know, but just kind of temporarily. So. You want to do that for us?
Sure. Here you go, George. Just to recognize your service. Yeah.
One for you?
No, they're both for you. We couldn't fit them all in one bag.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Just make two comments.
What's that?
Or tenure. How long, I guess almost 20 years you and I have been
Together?
together, huh?
Initially about 10 and then 10 more.
Yeah, how about that? There's two things that stand out to me, George.
What was
One was when we were deciding to build the building here, and we had discovered that because we were a home rule community, we could get around the general contracting requirements that were in the borough code. So I thought that was the greatest thing, because that meant, what, $300,000, $400,000 in savings in building the building. George always pulled back. Slow down, be patient. So from that point forward, I always recognized you more as counselor than attorney.
It's both.
Yes.
Counselor.
And then the second item is, and Diane used to come to me towards the end of the year every year and say, you got to call George and tell him to send us a bill. He has to send us a bill for months. We couldn't close our books because we couldn't. Well, we finally figured out the best way to do it was just put you on retainer. So every month we just expense that retainer. Thanks for all your service. You've been a friend.
My pleasure.
Thanks, George.
Thanks,
Thank you,
George.
Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Take care.
Okay, well, next we'll have call to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ling,
Present.
Dr. Lee Corns, Mr. Mack,
Here.
Mr. Stepanovich, Mr. Dice, Mr. Spadero,
Here.
Mr. McKenna,
Here.
Mayor Sinan.
Here.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Unlisted amendments.
We do have two unlisted amendments to the printed agenda. We will be removing item 14B from the agenda, that is the Hermes Gas Well Development, due to the lack of council members in attendance this evening. We chose to move this item to the January 2023 agenda. That way the full support of council can hear and weigh in on this item. So the folks at Protect PT and some of the other community groups were made aware. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the full community aware of this item in advance of the meeting, but due to the lack of full volume of council members, we are going to remove this item from tonight's agenda. And the other item is simply item 19, executive session. We are going to have a brief executive session following tonight's council meeting for a legal and contract matter.
Thank you. Consent calendar items. Can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Okay, comments from Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Darrow. Coming up on.
Yep, just a moment here. There you go.
Okay, here we go. The first one is Murraysville Recreation's Hot Chocolate Hike. You finish the hike with a cup of hot chocolate. Date, Friday, January 6th. Location, Roberts Trailhead, Murraysville Visitor Center. Time, 2 p.m. It's red, whatever that means.
Off.
There, it's green. Join the Recreation Department for some fun 2 to 3 mile hikes over the winter. These are wooded hikes with some slopes and may require stepping over fallen trees. Please dress for the weather and plan for the terrain. You can contact, for more information, MurraysvillePARecreation.com, or simply call here at the 327-2100 number, extension 131. It's sponsored by the Westmoreland Conservancy. The next one is the Christmas tree recycling. Westmoreland Cleanways and Recycling encourage everyone to recycle their live Christmas trees by taking it to one of the many drop-off sites located out through Westmoreland County. There is no cost to recycle your Christmas tree. However, the Murraysville Export Rotary Club collects donations to fund their own project at the site as they host. All locations require that trees are completely bare of all decorations and lights when dropped off. This includes any tree bags or wrappings used to transport the tree to the drop-off site. Murraysville donations accepted at Windstream Parking Lot, which is near the Giant Eagle, again hosted by Murraysville Export Rotary Club, January 7th and 14th, 9 to 1 p.m. If you have any questions, call Michael Scapura, the Executive Director of the Westmoreland Cleanways, at 7, or his email is mscapura@westmorelandcleanways.org. Lastly is our typical happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. I think we all need a little warning this year, though. We've heard them called in the past Alberta Clippers, and now the big word's polar vortex. But anyways, the Canadians look like they're going to send us some really cold air this weekend. In fact, dangerously cold was the warnings we're getting from FEMA and PEMA. High winds, possible power outages. So if you do have to go out, take extra clothes in the car with you, take some blankets, whatever, be prepared. If you don't have to go out, it's always better. One warning I'll give you: if you're going away for the weekend and whatever, and you normally turn your furnace on, I don't recommend you doing that this weekend. You might come home with frozen pipes and second floor and the first floor and some good things like that. A couple little fire department warnings: do not use any generators indoors if your power is out. They cause carbon monoxide and they will kill you. Second warning that a lot of people do: do not close the damper on your fireplace when you go to bed if there's still hot ashes in the fireplace, because it also can cause carbon monoxide. Lastly, do not leave animals outside, please. Thank you, and again, happy holidays to all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Nestico,
No comments for this evening. Thank
no
you.
comments. Okay, community input. We have anybody signed up? They all left. No, okay, first one, Gary English. State your name and address, please. You have 3 minutes.
4472 Kilmer Court.
Name?
Gary English.
Thank you.
There's a plethora of signage all over Murraysville. And I ran into one of the police officers last week, and he says, oh, I don't deal with that. I ran into the code enforcement officer, and he told me that he had a trunk load of campaign signs or signage. Well, if that's the case, there was a sign on Klein Hollow Road that sat there for a year, catty corner from the Giant Eagle, handyman services. If you go down 22, there's a building specialty blinds signs that are posted along the way. You can even buy corgi puppies on 22 going westbound. If you go eastbound at the corner of Trafford and 22, there's another one of the illegal signs. Title 36, Section 425 of the PA Highway Code says, it's unlawful to post any sign, banner, or placard on or across any state road or state road right-of-way without the express written consent from PennDOT. I've checked with PennDOT. No one has ever gotten written permission, and that includes political signage as well. There's another law in the books. It's called $300 fine for littering. I have it here for the overhead camera to see. Can you imagine collecting $300 for each illegal sign? We could roll back taxes if you would enforce the law. But make it a municipal law too, because not every road in Murraysville is a state road. But I think it's about time that we clean up the community and have a zero tolerance, just like Churchill Borough has. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette Pavlik? You're going to pass? Thank you. Gerard? You passing?
It's you.
Is he here?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, can't make out the name.
He
Sorry.
passes too.
Ross Citronelli? Okay, is that Deb Bucherios?
4974 Klein Hollow Road. And I just have one question. I've lived here for 40 years, and I'd like to know why we need an amphitheater in Murraysville. And that's all I want to ask. I just want to know why we need one. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that a Jason Bauer? Name and address, please.
Jason Bauer, 2925 Briar Ridge Court. I have Claire and Jack with me as well. First of all, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everybody. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it. My comment tonight is simply about the amphitheater. And I'm a transplant here from McKeesport, and I wanted to say I'm speaking in favor of the amphitheater tonight. And, you know, I grew up in McKeesport almost 20 years, and one of the things that has remained, all the crime and violence that exists in McKeesport, but one of the things that has remained and been a center of the community is the amphitheater. And what they've done over the last couple of years, it's very interesting, is they've allowed people to come with food trucks and even local members of the community that prepare food. And every Sunday in the summertime, they have a live band there. And that is one of the things that has kept McKeesport at least alive and kicking up to this point. And I would love to see that here in our community. I can remember growing up, and we lived right on top of the hill, and we would hear the band down there, And my brother would say to my dad, come on, let's walk down, let's hear the band, let's hear the band. So we'd get down there, and there'd be, a couple hundred people sitting there listening to the band. And, that was one of the things that I've been reading about, the amphitheater. There's pros and cons, obviously. But I wanted to come tonight to speak on behalf and in favor of the amphitheater, just because when I moved out here, it's community-centered. Murraysville, for my wife and I, it was one of the things that we really, really liked about this community was it was, children-driven. School district was phenomenal. And, when this had come up, we've been reading about this. This is something that I support and I feel very strongly about, only because I've seen this in action in McKeesport. So I just came to speak on behalf of that. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to say something? Oh, we have the chance? Nope. Okay, thank you all. Okay, next, liaison comments. Matt, do you want to start?
Nothing new. The mayor already did the hot chocolate hike for Parks and Recreation. Just wanted to thank Public Works for a great job this year, keeping all the parks operating and looking great, and to the Parks and Recreation Department for all their programs they did all year. The only thing is, obviously, we will be giving, I'll be reading the recommendation coming from the Parks and Recreation Department on the meeting of the 18th for the amphitheater in regards to what their discussion
Next year.
and their recommendation is. So we'll discuss that then. That's it.
Thank you. Jamie?
Next school board meeting takes place on January 23rd. It's a joint meeting of the board and committee of the whole.
Jason?
I missed the library meeting last week due to my child had an event at the school. Amy asked me to pass along a few items, just a few things on the agenda. January 10th at 5 p.m. is the Teen Advisory Board. Same with the Teen Writing Club is that same evening. So if there's anyone interested in attending, you can sign up on the website. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Medic One met this past week. They did a lot of discussion about their new budgets coming up and so on. Looks like they're looking around a $3 million budget this year, give or take a few dollars. They had 1,343 chips. This is for November. 167 were Washington Townships, 259 were wheelchairs, so they were quite busy. Their subscriptions is just leveled out, and it's about 31% of the township this year. They got $204,981, and they talked a lot about a lot of traffic accidents that are happening on 22. They're getting a lot of calls for that. That was basically the meeting. Okay, workshop items. Nothing there. Administration and the community relevant? Nothing. Public Works, okay. Council action items. Need a motion for 13A.
I'll make a motion to consider adoption of ordinance number 1065-22, the 2023 tax ordinance, setting the tax rate for the calendar year 2023.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the same millage that we had in the past year, and the allocation remains the same as in past years. So this is just standard practice to go through, and
Routine.
but everything is staying the same. Yes, routine.
Okay. Any questions on it?
Nope.
No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion for 13B.
Consider approval of resolution number 765-22, consider adoption of ordinance number 1066-22, the 2023 salary ordinance establishing compensation and salary ranges for the 2023 calendar year.
Second.
Second?
This ordinance is also required to be approved annually for adoption. It was discussed at the past meeting, and nothing has been changed since then.
Any questions? No questions?
Nope.
No.
Thank you. 13C.
You got to vote.
We got to vote.
Pardon me?
We have to vote.
Vote.
We didn't vote yet.
B.
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 What's that?
We have to do a vote on B.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we said all in favor on B?
We didn't do it yet.
We didn't do that. Okay. All in favor of 13B? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13C.
I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of resolution number 765-22, the operating budget for the 2023 calendar year.
Second?
Second.
This is the resolution to pass the operating budget that was discussed on the November 2nd meeting and also touched on at the November 16th meeting. There were no requests for any changes, so it remains the same as what was presented at the November councils.
Actually, I believe the November 16th meeting, I had made a note that there was 0 employees allotted for Jim's position, and that was changed.
That was changed for the salary ordinance, yes.
Yeah, I just want that, but that's all
But
part of the
none of the
budget.
but none of the numbers in the budget did change. That just was
Okay, but
reflected
that
on the
was-
salary ordinance.
Okay. And then my other question about this is, I just need some clarification.
Sure.
I think this will probably come more from Michael than anyone. I just want to be very clear. Does the adoption of a municipal budget give approval for projects that are not yet voted on?
Well, this operating, sorry, I don't have the
Specifically,
mic
I'm
on.
talking about the amphitheater.
Correct, yes, which is part of the capital reserve budget, and that is part of the operating budget for the 2023 year. So by voting on this item, you are voting on not only the general fund budget, but also the capital reserve budget, hydrant fund, et cetera, various funds, all incorporated in the municipality.
So then, does that approve that project, is what I'm asking? If the
I think I
budget-
can answer that. The answer is not, it doesn't award any contracts to perform that project.
Okay.
That still comes to council.
Okay, so there's nothing set in stone by voting yes to the budget?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I needed clarification on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13D.
Consider approval of resolution number 768-22, a resolution authorizing the transfer of a restaurant liquor license number R12376 into the municipality of Murraysville for First to Watch Restaurant Incorporated.
Second.
Any questions from anybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Have one more here, 13E.
Like to make a motion to consider approval of resolution number 769-22, authorizing, empowering, and directing the proper officers of the government board to appoint a liaison between it, Bergenheimer, for the express purpose of sharing confidential tax information with the district for official purposes.
Second.
Any comments?
No, this is simply to add the chief administrator as an alternate delegate for Berkheimer, in addition to the finance director.
Any questions from council?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 14A.
I'll make a motion. Oh, no, that's no motion. That's just a
apologize.
discussion.
Yes, so this item should have been maybe included above under the workshop item. So this would just simply be discussion amongst council regarding the prior public hearing item
hearing.
regarding the DNA corporate office and retail center.
Okay, Jim, you going to do that?
Sure, I'll introduce it. This is Phase 2 of the master plan that was approved, I guess about 2 years ago. 2 years ago. This Phase 2 takes into account an 80,000 square foot office building, 36,000 square feet of retail and restaurant, along with the supporting infrastructure for the total development. This was presented to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission made recommendation of approval with conditions that were attached to the briefing. We have with us tonight representatives from the developer and also representative for the municipality, our traffic engineer. Because in essence, the major impact of this development is going to be the impact to Wilson Road and Manor Road. So if there are questions council has concerning those, they're here to address those this evening.
Council have any questions so far?
I think the only question I saw before with this was, I think it was like a line of sight, but they had developed that with the recommendations of the Planning Commission, I believe, right? To have that intersection, it's been adjusted to where everything's, seems like it's pretty good. Is that correct?
I believe so. I'd have to have Josh Hato,
Yeah.
traffic engineer from Wooster Associates, is here as well, so he could address any traffic
Okay.
questions.
Josh Hato, David Worcester and Associates, traffic engineer. I believe the concern or the situation you're referring to was in coming up with the improvements for the intersection of Wilson Road and Manor Road. Some back and forth tweaking things was creating an issue with the sight line. That has since been resolved, worked out with the department. We now have a fully approved traffic impact study that puts that issue to bed.
Amy? No. Jason, nothing?
Sure.
Yeah, is that intersection, if you can explain, is it turning lane and
Sure.
straight and right? How did they configure that?
Couple of things. Is it possible to get this back up just a little bit more illustrative?
There you go.
What's that? Okay. Should go. So a number of things. There is one improvement down here at the intersection of 22 and Manor. This left turn lane coming off of Manor to go east on 22 is being lengthened by 50 feet. We are installing a new left turn lane in the opposite direction on Manor onto Wilson Road. That will be 225 feet long. Opposing that into the car dealership is a 75-foot left turn lane, which is off the page here. But so Manor Road will have left turn lanes in both directions. And we are implementing a traffic signal at this intersection.
Nick?
Yeah, I think they're great improvements to that. Fantastic.
If I may, one of the things that the Planning Commission had recommended was that there be a left-hand turn on Manor into the proposed development. At this point, the traffic study done by Worcester does not warrant that left-hand turn. So there needs to be some consideration by council as to whether to accept that recommendation or not from the Planning Commission. At full build-out, I guess it minimally qualifies as warranted. That would be in Phase 3 and subsequently Phase 4. So the question the council, I think, needs to address is whether you would consider that left-hand turn from Wilson into the development at this point in the development during Phase 2, or make some condition or agreement with the developer as the site continues to be developed, have subsequent traffic studies done to determine whether it is warranted at a future phase of the development.
And you're saying that's a left turn lane on Wilson Road coming from Manor? It would be a proposed
This, may I,
turn?
if I may point here, so coming up Wilson Road
Right.
into the main access to the new complex, a left turn lane. So, and again, the approved study by PennDOT, the developer did commit to, because there was some potential for that turn lane eventually being warranted somewhere down the road.
Right.
Not yet in this phase. Developer is willing to, do a post-development study once some of this stuff actually begins to come to fruition, when we're not, working with projections anymore.
Right.
But would like to, not spend that money now on an improvement that very well may not be warranted in the future. And in fact, the study suggests that it will not be.
So as it stands now, it's 2 lanes. You can make a left, but no turning lane.
There are no turn restrictions, but there's not an exclusive left turn lane.
And then
into the
after it's developed, they would consider doing that if it was warranted and needed.
Right.
Good.
And there's no stop sign there either.
There's
Other
no,
than
there,
exiting, I'm assuming exiting the complex, there's a
correct,
stop sign.
correct. Wilson Road is not, will be free flowing.
And how many parking spots are there here?
I don't have the site plan with me. There's, I'd say there's probably 800 some parking spaces. There's 500, over 500 for the DNA office, and then 250 or so for the retail. Well, if you include the out parcel for the restaurant and the future sports medicine building, it's probably a total of 850 parking spaces, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
It's on the site plan. I don't have a copy of that.
That's fine.
Site
I was
data,
just,
though.
I was just curious. It looked like a decent amount of parking spaces. I was just thinking about, at end of day, if there's 500 spots for the office building, if they all leave within the same hour, whatever, that's a decent amount of traffic, that's all. And then also coming into the complex in the morning for work,
And that is taken into account in
the traffic.
the traffic study. It's not necessarily tied to the parking, it's tied to the size of the buildings, the number of employees, different types of components of the development have arrival and departure times. The DNA facility will be a lot of people at once. Some of the other uses will be more spread out, but that is fully accounted for in the approved traffic study.
Is the parking for the DNA building, is that one kind of, I guess, if you're looking at the building to the left of it, is that which ones are?
This parking here is for the DNA building, and this parking is for the DNA.
Okay, so it's both of those. And they're not closed off with scan access, right? They're open for overflow after hours if the retail space warranted it. Okay, great.
Jim, I have a question. Will there be sufficient right-of-way for putting in that third lane on Wilson if needed in the future?
No?
I do not know, but with the same developer owning property on the opposite side of the street and this side of the street, even if there's not sufficient right of way, and I don't believe it would be an issue to obtain the necessary right of way if it's even necessary to do so at that time.
Is it possible to lock that right-of-way down now and the construction postponed until later if needed?
I would still,
PennDOT approved.
I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I would again, so far all of the facts and the engineering point to that lane never being warranted. So I don't want to volunteer on behalf of my clients to do that, but can it be done? Yes.
This may have been answered, but has PennDOT approved the traffic light?
Yes, they have.
They have approved it?
Yes.
Okay.
I will note that the traffic light will be owned by the municipality as required.
Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Need a vote on this?
No, this is just an item of discussion.
Discussion.
Okay.
Good evening. Mike Mudry with Traffic Planning Design. I'm your traffic consultant. Nice to meet everybody. The only thing that Planning Commission brought up was the question of the turn lane, when it would be warranted. And in the traffic study, again, like everything Josh said is correct. It's when the whole thing is built out, do the numbers show that the turn lane was warranted? It just, the question came up, can you do it now? And because it's an on-site improvement, because it's on their property frontage, just like Josh said, they own both sides of the road. You as the municipality, through the municipality's planning code, can require on-site improvements, whether warranted or not. You can require those types of improvements now. So I guess that was what I was telling Jim and trying to tell the planning commission. Either you can make them do it now, or you could, like you were saying, maybe get the right-of-way locked up now and defer, and every time they come back in the future with the building, check the traffic to see if it ever, when it gets over that warranted. Again, that's a decision because it's an on-site improvement at a driveway being built by a developer. You can't require that now or enter in some kind of agreement. So me personally, as a traffic engineer, just like you're concerned, I'm like, if you're not going to make them do it now, definitely lock up the right-of-way down the road, because you never know. These developer owns it now. He may sell something off later. It might be a whole different entity with all new people down the future. So if you would decide to defer, I think a condition would be to have them dedicate some kind of right-of-way for the future turn lane. And that's what I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't think, nope.
May I add just one more thing?
Sure.
Just for consideration. You know, the improvements that I discussed, you know, on Manor Road, the signal, the turn lanes, you know, that'll be at a considerable cost, you know, about a ballpark of $800,000. This additional turn lane in and of itself represents a significant cost. You know, we estimate between $300,000 and $400,000. So, you know, just bearing in mind when you're making that decision as to whether to require it or not, developer is already committed to making a significant contribution, and this would be significant above and beyond that contribution. That's all.
Does it cost more to do it after the fact than to do it initially? Like once you have whatever your landscaping in and all that stuff, or you just not putting that in until that phase?
It would, the cost would be, there's no,
No difference?
no difference. I mean, if it's several years down the road, cost of materials potentially, but there's no savings in having it all done at once.
Okay.
I will note, the other comment of the planning commission was that traffic signal have a preemptive system in it for emergency vehicles. The signal currently at 22 and Manor Road is a preemptive signal. And also to have a discussion and some kind of recommendation from PennDOT as to whether the signal at Manor and Wilson should be included in the adaptive system. It's on 22.
Okay.
And those requests, those are all being handled right now, you know, in the process with PennDOT. So those have been noted and will be done. They're just, that'll be settled, all the details as we continue our work with PennDOT.
I'm good.
Anything more?
No,
Yep, maybe.
I want to show you the recoil elevation. I know there was, we don't, this is the front of the building, which would be facing the parking lot here. We didn't do an elevation on the rear of the property. I think there may be an issue that since it's facing Route 22, whether we need to provide glazing or anything like that. I mean, that's the loading area.
Sir, could you talk into the
yeah,
mic?
you have to use the mic, sorry.
So this elevation is the front of the retail here along the parking. We didn't provide a a rear elevation, which we back here. It's a loading area and a receiving area. I think there's an issue with whether we need to do any glazing or anything on that back wall because it faces 22. But the building pad is about 70 feet higher than 22, and it sits about 200 feet back from Route 22. So we're providing a landscape buffer according to the ordinance. So we feel that's adequate. We don't need that would be a solid wall basically along that back, unless there's you feel otherwise.
Ray, what would the finish be on that wall, the rear wall?
It would probably be the brick
Block.
or block.
Okay, nothing else?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is be on the January 18th meeting for consideration of approval.
I got that.
No.
January 18th, okay. All right. Nothing on engineering, public works. On to old business. Any old business?
Old business?
Any new business?
No, sir.
Anybody? Okay, we need one motion.
I think we just go to executive session.
Yeah, we have executive
Gonna,
session.
Recess to executive session.
There's no action
There
items.
won't be
out of
any action
executive.
coming out of the executive session, so you can adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.